Hey, how many backflips can you do? Oh yeah? Prove it. What the f***? Welcome back to 40 Frames Ago. I'm Jim, and somehow this is already my 10th review. Okay. We need to talk. I'm gonna ramble on a little here, so if you don't care, just skip ahead a few minutes and we'll get right back to the show. Thanks. All right, I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but these videos, they're written, voiced, and edited by a team of one. It's just me here, and as I've been making these episodes, I've realized something. I love doing this, but each video still takes me around 40 hours, at least to produce. It's actually an improvement. Considering my very first episode, Head Office, took me well over 80 hours because I'd never edited before. Using the cameras, everything for the first time, it just took a long time. So the learning curve is steep. But even at 40 hours, it's still not as manageable as I'd like. So I'm continuing to fine tune the format as I go. While working on Pretty in Pink, I noticed the episodes were getting really long and deeper, maybe too deep. I'm going into cast histories, crews, spotlights, production details. Am I making a YouTube video or is this a documentary? And honestly, I'm not really sure what you guys are looking for when you look at these reviews. I don't get very many comments, so it's hard to tell whether the format's interesting, boring, or somewhere between. Some videos get 100 views and others get thousands, and I just can't figure out why exactly. So if you want to support the show, and in the show I mean me, even a quick comment or a simple like really does help, and it helps guide how I shape these episodes. Plus, YouTube knows, people like it, they'll show it to other people, that'll help me out. So with all that being said, this week I'm experimenting by tightening things up, trimming some sections, speeding up the pacing, and making this a little easier to produce. So your feedback will be incredibly helpful, so please leave me a comment. I'll continue to try to make these videos better and better for you. All right, back to the show. All right, where was I? Oh yes. Every week we jump back exactly 40 years to revisit the films that opened this weekend. Last weak was the pastel-soaked teen angst of Pretty in Pink. This week, we're trading high school hallways for ancient grudges, lightning-charged sword fights, and immortal warriors. Because we're diving into Highlander. It's a cult classic cocktail of moody 80s atmosphere, centuries-spanning mythology, gritty New York streets, and one of the most gloriously operatic soundtracks ever recorded, courtesy of Queen. A story of destiny and immortality, filled with iconic lines, unforgettable villains, and that very specific, only in the mid-80s style of world building. So, with our swords drawn and Queen warming up in the background, let's fire up the time circuits and cut our way back to 1986. Okay, let's first take a look at box office numbers from Box Office Mojo. We're looking into the 10th week of 1986. The date is March 7th through the 13th. Pretty in Pink, released last week, moves up into the #1 spot. And with the Oscars on March 24th, 1986 fast approaching, The Color Purple gets another little boost, raising up 4.3%. And Back to the Future also rises up 18%. Both of these are Oscar nominated. New movies this week are Highlander, Nomads, and A Room with a View. And A Room with a View is released in limited release, which is, super limited, only one showing at one theater. So let's talk about some of these. Nomads is a supernatural horror thriller about a French anthropologist in Los Angeles who becomes obsessed with a group of mysterious street punks, only to discover they're actually malevolent nomadic spirits hiding in human form. After he dies violently in the hospital, he transfers his memories into the doctor treating him, forcing her to relive his terrifying encounters and uncover the truth behind the entities stalking the city. Sounds pretty interesting. And then A Room with a View. And that's a romantic period piece based on E.M. Foster's novel about Lucy Honeychurch, a young Englishwoman torn between the strict social expectations of Edwardian England and her growing feelings for George Emerson, a passionate, free-spirited man she meets while traveling in Florence. The film follows her journey of self-discovery as she struggles to choose between duty and desire, all set against lush Italian landscapes and prim English society. It has Helena Bonham Carter, who was just 19 years old, and it also stars Maggie Smith, Judi Dench, and Daniel Day-Lewis. The film did really well. It received universal critical acclaim and major award recognition. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards, which it won 3. 1 for Best Adapted Screenplay, 1 for Best Art Direction, and 1 for Best Costume Design. It also got 5 BAFTA awards, and it was one of the most decorated British films of the 1980s. I actually haven't seen this one, and in fact, when I was doing my research for this show, I found out about this show, so I'm going to have to add it to my list of shame. And then we have Highlander, and according to IMDb, it's about an immortal Scottish swordsman must confront the last of his immortal opponents, a murderously brutal barbarian who lusts for the fabled prize. And check out that poster. That's pretty neat. Since this was the top new movie this week in box office grosses, I chose it to be the focus of this week's review. So, since we are focusing on Highlander, let's take a little bit, and here's the lightning fast rundown of the people who made Highlander the cult legend it is. Christopher Lambert brings that mysterious, slightly off, but in a good way vibe that makes Connor feel genuinely ancient. Clancy Brown goes full heavy metal chaos as the Kurgan, one of the most fun villain performances of the 80s. Sean Connery strolls in dressed like an immortal matador and injects pure charisma into every line. Gregory Wyden, who wrote the original story as a college assignment, invented most of the Highlander mythology we still quote today. And Russell Mulcahy, the director who was straight out of the MTV music video scene, gives the movie its neon-soaked, operatic, why is this transition so violent style. That's the Dream Team, and they're a big reason this movie is such a cult classic. So, I picked up Highlander in 4K, and look, I've bought a lot of physical releases over the years, but this one feels like it's designed to make the fans go, all right, fine, you got me, take my money. The packaging alone has that pried out of my cold, immortal hands energy. Dramatic artwork, the whole deal. I mean, I just love the artwork that they used. Inside, you get the film in 4K plus a Blu-ray disc. And this is easily the best this movie has ever looked. The Scottish Highlands actually look like the Scottish Highlands, not like a foggy VHS memory of them. New York nightlife has that sharp neon glare vibe it's supposed to have, and the lightning effects, still gloriously 80s, pop in a way I've never seen in home video before. But the real treasure here is the bonus features, because this release does not skimp. If you're a Highlander nerd, this thing is a bonus feature buffet. You get 4 postcard stock mini posters, and for the 4K disc features, you get dozens of behind-the-scenes commentaries, featurettes, and other special items. The 2 disc totals have English and Spanish subtitles, DTS HD audio, the works, plus a digital copy of the movie. It's one of those releases where you go, yeah, someone actually cared about putting this together, not just a quick remaster, a full celebration of the film. For a movie about immortality, this feels like the version that's going to stick around for a while. All right, so I'm going to go over to the movie room now. The 4K demands it. The prophecy demands it. My inner 80s child demands it. I'll be right back with my review, assuming I survive all that lightning.
40 frames ago,
Okay, I just got done watching the movie, and rewatching Highlander in 2026 is it's an experience. It's not a normal experience, more like stepping into a parallel universe where filmmaking is half logic, half rock opera, and half someone whispering, just go with it. And honestly, it kind of holds up, but mostly because it commits fully to being loud, weird, ambitious, dramatic, and powered almost entirely by electricity, sword sparks, and Queen. Let's start with the obvious high point. The vibes. This movie lives on vibes. Cinematography, vibes. Plot logic, vibes. Sword fights that look like ocean violations, extra vibes. And the 4K restoration helps a ton. The Scottish Highlands finally look like real scenery instead of a postcard someone spilled tea on. New York at night looks incredibly grimy, neon charged, and basically daring immortals to fight on any rooftop that they can find. The HDR also gives every character this faint supernatural glow, like they're being lit by a ring light, blessed by Zeus. And in 4K, you can now clearly see the wires during some of these stunts. Honestly, it's kind of charming. I mean, practical effects wearing their seams proudly. Now, Highlander has some genuinely clever visual moments. I mean, I think some of the greatest shots are the way that they transition between two different scenes. You got sunglasses, reflecting shots, and then like a pan up warp into it jumps from New York to 16th century Scotland like a movie just unlocked a cheat code. And then the fish tank to lake transition, that's the director saying, what if we just morph time using an aquarium water? And somehow it just works. Like, it looks so cool. I mean, I wasn't expecting these transitions in this cinematography, but it looks really neat. All right, let's talk about acting, because this movie is basically three different acting styles fighting for dominance. Christopher Lambert is both incredibly cool and slightly lost. Like he learned English by watching perfume commercials. Honestly, it just adds that immortal vibe, so I think it kind of works actually. Sean Connery shows up dressed like immortal matador and delivers every line like he's explaining the plot of a completely different movie. The man radiates charisma. He could read a takeout menu and you'd believe it was some ancient wisdom. And Clancy Brown, he's giving an over-the-top villain performance that reminds you that the 80s feared nothing. His armor looks like a heavy metal album cover mated with a medieval tank. He chews scenery so aggressively, I'm shocked the set survived. Now, the story. If you try to make it make sense, you're going to hurt yourself. Highlander logic is Highlander logic. Immortals can't die unless they're decapitated, except for when they can. The prize is extremely important, except for the movie never really explains what it is in a way that makes sense. And here's the thing, you don't really care. I mean, the movie's so confident in its own mythology that you just roll with it. And the soundtrack? Yeah, Queen absolutely carries this film. They didn't just write the songs, they wrote an emotional language. Half of the dramatic weight comes directly from Freddie Mercury hitting a high note. Now, does everything hold up? No, not even close. The pacing gets chaotic. The romantic subplot feels like it got 48 hours of screen time condensed into 12 minutes. The final fight runs a little long. And the sound effects, oh boy. Some punches sound like someone slapped a wet towel on a countertop. Some sword hits sound like aluminum pipes being dropped in a garage. But the unintentional comedy, that holds up beautifully. Like the scene where they banish McLeod and he just walks off into the hills, still strapped up to that wooden post. Or Lambert delivering lines like, "Heather, please," and "Do as I say, woman." I can't do it justice. He does it way better than I can. So Does Highlander hold up in 2026? Honestly, yeah, it's not perfect, not cleanly, and not even remotely normally, but it's iconic. It's stylish, it's messy, ambitious, unforgettable, and absolutely committed to its own mythology. A film where the pieces are the whole: the style, the cast, the music, the sparks, the lightning, and the confidence. There can only be one. Flashback fact. Sean Connery shot all of his scenes in 6 days. Yep, 6. For a mentor who feels like he's in the entire movie, he was on the set for less than a week, and he was paid $1 million for those 6 days. Not bad for someone who shows up, explains the rules of immortality, rides a horse, and dips. Go on, don't lose your head now. Give that like button a little quickening jolt of energy. Tap subscribe like you're swinging a katana with centuries of experience. Bold, dramatic, and maybe just a little over the top. And don't worry, there can only be one ending. And this one won't require a duel on a rooftop. Next up, we roll into week 11 of 1986, leaving behind the lightning-soaked rooftops, immortal sword fights, and queen-powered chaos of Highlander, and stepping straight into something completely different. No more ancient grudges, no more beheadings, no more neon-lit duels echoing through the streets of New York. Now we're talking about factory floors, culture clashes, union meetings, and Michael Keaton trying very, very hard to keep an entire town's sanity intact. That's right, it's time for gung-ho. And trust me, there may not be only one, but there are definitely a lot of opinions. And that's a wrap on our journey through Highlander. Let me know what you think. Did you catch this one back in the 80s when every sword fight came with 10 pounds of sparks and Queen was basically scoring half of the cinema? Or is this your first time stepping back into the world of immortals, trench coats, and very questionable Scottish accents? Either way, grab your katana, channel your inner Ramirez, and meet me back here next Friday. Until then, keep your head on your shoulders, your lightning bolts under control, and I'll see you in the rewind.
Frozen scenes begin to show. Whispers